14 years ago, I was having a tough time in a job I was in. I was working with a coach who helped me work through the notion that reaction is a choice. And it became such a powerful theme for me that I wrote it out and stuck it on a bit of paper underneath my monitor at home with a photograph of my family under it. Because in that process, I learned about this Greek philosophy called Stoicism, the Stoics. And Stoics are often misunderstood or mislabeled as being stone-faced and without joy. Stoicism, for me, at its core, is just a form of discipline over oneself. To put it very simply, it's the application of your mind and the time you spend to what you can control versus being distracted by or frustrated by what you can't control.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. 20-Minute Leaders is a proud supporter of Make-A-Wish Israel and Tech to Peace, and is in proud collaboration with Secret Chord Ventures, J Ventures, Riverside FM, Fusion VC, Birthright Excel, J Impact, Leap, Google for Startups, and Hippo, and in media partnership with C-Tech. Dave McQuarrie, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you so much for joining me. I know you're so busy and I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here with me. How are you?
Thank you, Mario. I'm terrific. It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
No. The honor is mine. Obviously, the things you've done are incredible. Way too many things to talk about that we're not going to get to in 20 minutes, but I'm particularly fascinated by your perception of leadership. Today, you're the Chief Commercial Officer of HP, a small company. I probably one or two people may have heard about it somewhere, but I think that looking at the long game and looking at the way that you're thinking about well-being in the workplace and how do we create and we bring ourselves to fruitful creation in the long term, I think that's a topic that's personally fascinating for me. And I know it's something that's of personal interest for you too. So thank you again for being here. Tell me a little bit about what you really, really care about. What is sort of top of mind for you?
Well, I think if I just stay with the leadership theme that you started on, because I care about many things, and as you said, we don't have enough time to cover them all. In leadership, I think there are three responsibilities any of us have. The first is, in a role like mine, I'm in sales, hit the number, right? Deliver what you said you would deliver. That's important. It's sort of the ticket to the dance. The second is develop the team. Every leader I've ever met is a leader because other people helped them advance, develop, experiment, fail, and I think that's a responsibility we all have. And the third is to transform that which you lead. It's rare to find something that when you inherit it is perfect and that you should just maintain. There is always a transformational responsibility we have. And so any leadership job I've had and the one I have now, these are the three things that I focus on. Then we can get to some of the principles. Before we got on here, we were talking a little bit about Greek philosophy, but yes, I mean, those are the three things I think most about in any leadership role.
We're diving right in. Tell me about Greek philosophy.
I was about 15 or 14 years ago, I was having a tough time in a job I was in. I was working with a coach who helped me work through the notion that reaction is a choice. And it became such a powerful theme for me that I wrote it out and stuck it on a bit of paper underneath my monitor at home with a photograph of my family under it. Because in that process, I learned about this Greek philosophy called Stoicism, the Stoics. And Stoics are often misunderstood or mislabeled as being stone-faced and without joy. Stoicism, for me, at its core, is just a form of discipline over oneself. To put it very simply, it's the application of your mind and the time you spend to what you can control versus being distracted by or frustrated by what you can't control. And I find a lot of people get wrapped around the axle on the things they can't control. My boss doesn't understand this, or the market conditions are such. And I think that those are things you can't control, and to the extent that you let them distract you, they take you off course from the large list of things that you can control. And then the last thing is, and I'm grossly oversimplifying Stoicism, but the last part of it is to find joy in the things that you have, to find joy where you are. If you have health of any sort, whether you're the healthiest person in the world or you're barely alive, you're alive. So find joy in that. If you're able to enjoy the time of a family or friends, find joy in that. If you've got a job that's challenging for you and that financially rewards you, find joy in that, rather than always be looking to the next thing and declaring that that's when I'll be happy. I think a lot of people spend their life wishing for the next thing and not finding the joy in the place that they are.
And so this beautiful mindset in accordance with you're sitting in Palo Alto right now, right? The heart of sort of this the race to the of super evolution. And we feel it. I feel it in the day to day. How does that balance with what you're saying in our day to day lives when we're sitting in places where we feel like we have to move fast and we have to have sort of this pepper constantly driving us forward? How do we balance this mindset?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example of a person that history remembers pretty well. Marcus Aurelius was a famous Stoic, not a person renowned for resting on his laurels, right? This is not something that prevents ambition, aspiration, experimentation, pursuit. This is simply a reminder of how and where to focus your time and energy while doing whatever it is you do. And it's not that you must be as aspirational or ambitious as those in Silicon Valley or, Roman emperors of old were. But if you are, that you're able to balance that against these principles I described. So I don't see them as anything other than complementary. In fact, if anything, the ability to keep it in perspective allows you to take more risk because you don't pour your whole emotional self into a failure. You simply pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go try again.
100%. Okay, so and I like the distinction that it's complementary. It's not one against each other.
Right.
In looking from your position of leadership, you mentioned a few things. You mentioned hitting the hard numbers, sales, developing the team, and transformational responsibility.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about transformational responsibility. It's a powerful term. It's a powerful responsibility. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, again, to simplify it, leaving a job better than you found it is a simple benchmark I have. In the company that I lead, the sales function, the commercial business for HP, for us that means ensuring that our teams, our sales teams, and all of those teams that support the sales teams are able to sell what customers so desperately need, rather than sell the products that might be on the spec sheet. We're going through right now. I'll give you a good example. We're going through perhaps a once in a generation transformation of how people work. Maybe less frequent than once in a generation. Maybe
I think even less frequent.
And our company is well placed to serve that. We have the right technology. We have the right solutions. We recently acquired Poly, which does collaboration equipment. Collaboration is at the heart of hybrid. And our sales organization needs to be capable of conveying the value and the opportunity for customers to take advantage of these new capabilities and a better together story. And if we don't transform, if we don't change from serving customers what they wanted to serving customers what they now need, then at the least we will lose, and at the most we will not help all these customers make the transition to this different way of working. So that's just one, but there are perhaps another dozen areas where we have an opportunity to transform, where I will endeavor to leave this role better than I found it whenever I'm done. But I think every leader can look at the team they lead and ask that question: what is not being done today the way I envision it, or that we must do it? And how am I going to drive that change alongside developing my people, which may be in service of that third goal, and alongside delivering the now, right? Hitting the number.
Right. I like the distinctions of these three elements. So looking at the transformational responsibilities, and part of that, it sounds to me like what you're saying is setting the vision. So setting where we're headed, developing the team to get there, hitting the now goals to know that we're hitting the milestones together. Tell me a little bit about your setting the vision, setting the long-term goals, how we, the balancing in your perspective of the here and now versus the long-term perspective. Who should be concerned with this long-term perspective? How do we engage with this long-term goal in our day-to-day lives? I'm thinking for myself as an early stage CEO, how am I translating for myself, for my team, for my employees? How does that matter? So this is going to be an impactful conversation for me.
Well, I'll start in the middle of where you went. Who should care about it? Everybody should care about it. Any leader at any level in a company, whether it's a company the size of yours or the company the size of mine, every leader should care about it. Because if you don't, if you leave it to others, then the risk is that you will not be an active practitioner and that your thoughts will not be captured in the journey to get to what is best. I find, particularly in a large company like HP, that the people who have the best ideas about how we can change are not always sitting in head office.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best ideas come from the field or from our customers, often from our customers. And so I want everyone in the company to feel a connection to and a responsibility for that transformation. Firstly, for the reason I said, because good ideas come from everywhere. Secondly, because if this is someone else's journey or someone else's vision and you don't share it, it's too easy to step away from it. It's too easy to say, I've got too much, right? That first objective, hit the number, that's more important, I'll do that. And I know a lot through my career, I've known a lot of people who just, they hit the number, that's it. And it's not bad. It's just that eventually hitting the number isn't enough. And so I think that you've got to personally commit as a leader at any level, whether you're a first line manager with 10 people or an executive with thousands, you've got to be in the boat. As far as how it's arrived at, what the process is, a lot of what we're going through right now has come upon us pretty rapidly. If you think back to 2019, we didn't imagine a world like hybrid, like the pandemic, and we didn't imagine, most of us at least, the impact generative AI or AI, and specifically where Gen AI is headed, will have. And so the second part is you've got to be, I guess, healthily paranoid about the state of affairs, because assuming that it will be the way it has been forever and that you know, if you can just improve against the current state, you'll be okay, I think that's risky. And so being open to and keeping your radar out for these seismic shifts is really important. And being I said paranoid, but maybe humble's the right word. Acknowledging that you are going to constantly have to reframe and learn as these things occur, is an important skill that I appreciate in leaders, that I look for in leaders, and I'll take curiosity over certainty any day of the week when it comes to how to come up with what the vision ought to be and what the trends we need to go and deal with are.
Mm-hmm. How do you suggest a person, let's say in my position, right, managing a team of say 15 people, in highly uncertain conditions, the market is constantly changing. I think the world that we're entering is going to be one that certainty is a term maybe for a different century.
Yeah.
How do I keep myself in check for practicing these fundamental leadership aspects, particularly the ones that we've been speaking about? What are things that I could do in my position or any leader in my organization or others that want to take leadership roles? What can I actively do keep myself in check?
Yep.
Whether I'm practicing them properly.
So I have three actions that I practice for that purpose. The first is I read. I know that seems obvious, but the more you read, the more ideas you're exposed to, and everything from books that were written thousands of years ago to articles that were written yesterday. And I think there's an awful lot of content out there that is helpful, and the ability to curate it is increasing. And so, it's not like you're dropped in the middle of a library, you've got to go find it, right? You can get the content you need. So number one, read. Number two, the network of people. There's that expression that you are a reflection of the 5 people you spend most time with. I have been influenced through my life and career by a small handful of people. Not all of them, unfortunately, not all of them are still alive, but those who are, I spend a lot of energy staying connected so I can be influenced by them, either because they challenge me or because they inspire me, or both. And the more time I spend with them, the more I'm able to stay true to what we just talked about. And the third, which is pretty mundane, is calendar. Where you spend your time is who you become. And so if you let your calendar run you, if in a job like mine, and I'm sure yours, if I just let the calendar run itself, it would fill with urgent, some important, many not important things. It would not necessarily have the right balance of what we just talked about. And so I'm quite deliberate about what does and does not make it into my schedule so that I can allocate the time to what we just talked about.
I love it. Tell me a little bit about what you really care about. If you look at the world today, what do you really, really care about?
Well, personally, putting my work responsibilities to the side, I'm a father of 3 daughters, and one of those, they're all in their late teens or very early 20s. One of my daughters is special needs, and so I have a passion for and a connection to that community, and I will forever have that, and I care deeply about her life in this world and the life of those in her community. And it has enriched my life and my family's and my wife's and my daughter's lives simply having her in our family. She is an incredible human, and I care very much about that. I care that those in power, including people like you and I, who have power over organizations or products we might develop or services, that they take it seriously. I'm privileged to be in a leadership role in a large company with significant assets. Our company has assets that we can deploy in a direction of our choosing. I think that's an incredibly important responsibility for leaders to take. It's not just, I did my job, I hit the number, I used the assets of my organization to the benefit of a community or the planet or a group that I and we care about. And I think that deploying the assets at your disposal, whether it's the intellect you were born with or the company that you lead and everything in between, I think we need to go beyond just, how much can I get from this?
Do you feel a responsibility there?
Absolutely. Yes, and I think that and HP has I was going to say good, but that's too humble. It has a great track record. Our company is 84 years old and founded by 2 leaders whose name are on the building, who changed the way companies thought, who pushed for corporate responsibility before the term existed, who felt a community connection was not just a convenient way of hiring, but was an integral part of a contribution of a company to the places that it was present. So yes, and I, when I do these sort of things, my pedigree often comes up. My dad was at HP, and so I grew up learning about the HP way when I was a kid, and so I have a strong connection to the responsibility our company has taken and continues to take for the communities that we are a part of. So yes, very much our company has that responsibility. It's in our DNA, whatever products and services we sell. And then finally, what do I care about at work is how are we going to make life and work better through the technology and services that we offer. We are, and I'm sure every company feels this way, but we are unique. There is no company that can provide collaboration capability the way we can. There are companies that have a software capability. There are companies that have a hardware capability. There are software companies that have a solution capability. None of them have all of them, right? We bought Poly last year so that we could offer collaboration capabilities. And one of the things that I'm most invigorated by is not everybody even agrees that this is a need. I spoke to a very senior leader in the international world about 2 weeks ago, and I asked this person about hybrid. And they said, no, hybrid, we're back at work. The pandemic's behind us, we're back at work. And then he proceeded to describe his day, which started at 5 o'clock in the morning on a call on Zoom to another country, and then ended in the evening with another call. And in between, he had meetings on Zoom, meetings in, he was describing hybrid while he was telling me it wasn't really a thing anymore. Right? I think the opportunity for us to make hybrid or the balance of where we work and how we are productive an equitable and an invisible experience, that's inspiring to me, right? That ecosystem that should sit behind making this invisible, that you don't even know you are in a hybrid world because it's so good and so seamless. That's inspiring to be a part of.
Yeah, well, Dave, I have to say that I've been very inspired by these 20 short minutes. I keep reflecting at how 20 short minutes can be so meaningful.
Yeah.
and taking the time to step away. And you mentioned one of the ways that you keep your mind open and to new ideas is through reading. Well, one of my ways is to speak to people like you and to get your perspective. And I have to say that I'm leaving this conversation inspired to be a better leader. I'm inspired to be a better transformational leader. And I'm going back to that original a sentence you said right at the beginning that you keep, I believe, in a post-it note under your monitor. Reaction is a choice.
There it is. Mm.
And I may borrow it from time to time, and I may write it down for myself. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you for the great work that you're doing in a great company, and thank you for the time that you spent with me.
My pleasure. Always wonderful to talk through these things with a kindred spirit. Thanks for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Dave.